So thank you everybody for joining us today. And for those of you who are still joining, if you are watching this recording later, thanks for tuning into the recording. We are going to send the recording out to everybody who registered. So if you have to leave a little bit early or you disconnect and you miss a little bit, you'll be able to catch up on what you missed or just go back and reference it later. And we also, if you could stay until the end, we have a feedback form and we would really appreciate getting some of your thoughts on how today's session goes. So without further ado, I'll introduce myself. My name is Mary Davis. I am the Assistant Director at the Center for the Study of Languages and Cultures. And I will be working today with our wonderful Fulbright Foreign Language Teaching Assistant, Chinhua Chun. And she's going to be leading us through this workshop. I am going to be modeling something of a student, and I hope that you guys can all get a lot out of it today. And it's my distinct pleasure to turn it over to Chinhua.
Hello, everyone. My name is Qinghua. I'm from Taiwan. Currently, I'm a Fulbright Foreign Language Teaching Assistant here at Notre Dame. My main duty here is teaching Chinese and also work as a cultural ambassador. And Mary, she has years of Mandarin learning experience and also taught English in China before. So later, if we're going through some minute practice, Mary can be a student, to show you how did she get there.
Yes, I am always a student. I've studied Chinese and my pronunciation still leaves much to be desired. So this is a workshop for me as well as everyone else.
Okay, so first of all, I don't know if any of you have this kind of experience. You try to start a very friendly conversation with a person you just met by asking, "Hi, what is your name?" And then that person reply a Chinese name. You feel so confused, like, what is that? But you're also kind of embarrassed to ask them to repeat after and after again. So you just kind of give up. So our ultimate goal today is to change our mindset. Chinese name is actually not that difficult. We can stop that narrative that we keep telling ourselves oh, Chinese name are impossible, which is not true, because all my international friends are doing a good job by calling my name. And you guys are so intelligent to be here at Notre Dame and so open-minded to spend your time to understand a different culture. So we will get there together. So today we will start from the meaning of the name. Why is this so important to us? And later on, we will go over all the basic pronunciation in Chinese together. And then we will send you to breakout room and practice a little bit. And last, we will save some time for you for the questions.
And Zaina, our wonderful colleague over at Notre Dame International on the International Student and Scholars Affairs team, is keeping an eye on the chat and letting in everybody as they come in so that Chinhua and I can focus. So thank you, Zaina, for doing that. And if you do have questions throughout and you don't want to forget them, we'll have that time at the end to go back through the chat and address anything that still remains.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm going to share some stories, start from our names. And for me, Mandarin name can be a gift, a wish, or even a prayer. How do I get my name? Qinghua. Qinghua can be written in two Chinese characters. Qing means diligent, and Hua means birch. It's a kind of tree with white skin. You combine two of them, which makes no sense at all. Actually, my name was given by a fortune teller after I was born, because in ancient Chinese philosophy, people believe the whole universe was made from 5 elements: metal, water, wood, soil, and fire. And the fortune teller told my parents, hey, this baby, this girl, her life, her destiny is lack of wood. That's put a wood radical in her name. So that's how my name was born, Xinhua.
I think too, that's something unique that maybe if you don't have a lot of background, knowing and understanding Chinese names and Mandarin names specifically, that's not something like my name has meaning to me because it was like my grandmother's name, or it has a contextual meaning, but there's not a literal meaning associated with my name that comes to mind. And I think that's like really important in recognizing that.
Yeah, so the second who's gonna share his story with us is Ming Hong Oliver. We went to a bar together once, and the bartender said that he want to check his ID, and he got a credit card and also a picture of the passport. But it spent a very long time for us to get into that bar because on his passport his name is Ming Hong, but the credit card is Oliver, which is his preferred name. So why he choose to use Oliver here? Let's hear his story.
Hello everyone. I am a Fulbright foreign language teaching assistant from Taiwan. My Chinese name is Xie Minghong. Xie is my family name, and Minghong is given by my parents, and each of them has a special meaning. Ming, referring to words carved on the stones, represents their wish that I can memorize important things in my life. Hong, meaning the goose, stands for their expectation that I can be successful, just like a flying goose. Although I am a Taiwanese TA teaching Chinese, when I introduce myself to people in the States, including my students, I usually go with my English name, Oliver. To be honest, personally, I would love to have people here calling me by Chinese name, since it carries a unique connection with my family and my culture. This bond is a crucial part of my identity. However, there are some reasons why I choose to use the English name here over the Chinese one. First of all, I majored in English for my undergrad, where I got used to share my English name with my professors and classmates every day. Also, I think using an English name will shorten the distance to the students. I want to build up my image as student's friend who can blend in their lives well. Choosing a name that they are familiar with would probably help, at least that's what I thought. In addition, in terms of practicality, an English name is just much easier to be used in daily life scenarios than a Chinese name. When students mention anything about me, they don't have to struggle with the pronunciation or the correct Chinese character. A common name would simply make the communication way more convenient. In short, even though my Chinese name represents a quality that I cherish, I would still prefer English name based on the environment and the image that I want to achieve here. Thank you.
Yeah, so Oliver made a different decision because it will be so much easy. Like for me, I can also use an English name. Actually, I have one. It's my Starbucks name. When I order food to make things easier, I will use Kayla. That's my American students gave me this name. But this name like I personally don't attach to this name at all. Like this name is just a tool for me to get the things that I want.
I like the idea of a Starbucks name. I think a lot of people here could empathize with the Starbucks phenomena of misspelling and mispronouncing. So
Yeah, and the next one is 自容. Because I'm too excited and I'm hosting this workshop. So when I went to Stanford University to visit my friend while she's cooking, I was chatting with her roommate. Hey, I'm hosting this event. Like, can you also share your story? And she said yes. She's currently a computer science master student. So let's hear 自容's story.
Hello everyone, my name is Zhang Zhiyong. Zhang is my family name and Zhiyong is my given name. So this is the name that I feel intimately connected to because I've been using this name for more than 20 years since I was born. In Mandarin, zhi in my given name Zhiyong is a kind of herb and rong is a very common tree that you can see it everywhere in Taiwan. People usually have trouble with the pronunciation of zhi and zhirong. So there are a couple of times that I can't immediately tell if a person is calling me or not. Still, I always appreciate people trying to pronounce Mandarin names because I think it's a really great way to show your respect, especially to a person's origin.
Yeah, thanks to Zhirong. As you can hear, she say Zhang Zhirong, and Zhang is my family name. So first, when I started learning English, this idea of last name confused me a little bit because we put our family name first, actually.
And I like that she acknowledges like that's a specific sound that people struggle with in saying her name. And that's somewhat how we've modeled the phonetic overview part of this workshop, is isolating specific sounds that come up and often in Mandarin names that English speakers struggle with, so that we can really isolate those, focus on those. And then if you ever meet Zhurong, then you might, have a more accurate attempt at pronouncing her name and give her that validation she talks about.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello,
Oh.
everyone.
Okay, so next story is my friend from graduate school, and currently she's a Fulbrighter too at Michigan State.
Hi, my name is Poching, P-O-C-H-I-N-G. It's the name shown in my passport. It's the spelling of my Chinese name. Before, I used to have an English name. It's May. One time, my friend asked me, why you have another name? And it's a good question. I think maybe it's because for many foreign friends, it's sort of difficult to pronounce our name. I mean, the translation of our Chinese name. But my friends say, no, it's not difficult. We can do it. And it's fair that you know my name and I know your name. We can pronounce it properly. I think, yeah, that's correct. Fair enough. And from them, I keep using the same name. And I think it's good that it's my identity. I think so. So I don't need a second name.
Yeah, thank you, Poching. Just like she said, we can all do it actually.
Yeah, and I think once we actually see the phonetic overview part, it gets a little less scary to thinking of the sounds that our mouths can make. But I think I appreciate the nuance in all of your stories. Thank you for sharing them about choosing which name to use and how that's always, a strange decision sometimes to make, and kind of why we're all here today.
Yeah, so one of the questions I've been frequently asked here in the US is, what is Mandarin Chinese? You can consider Chinese as an umbrella term. Underneath Chinese, there are lots of dialects, and Mandarin is one of them. And now it's very widely spoken in China and other countries in Asia too. So the definition of Mandarin is official. So it was firstly like spoken by the educated class in Beijing. And as you can see, China is a big country. So it will become a problem, like everyone just using their dialects. It will be hard to communicate. So the government trying to promote the Mandarin education. So now when we say Mandarin, like, or 普通话, 国语, it means like the most commonly used dialects in China. So who speaks Mandarin Chinese? Actually, if you consider the amount of native speakers, Mandarin Chinese is the language spoken by the most native speakers worldwide. But lots of people are taking English as second language. So English is still on the top of the list if you consider all the speakers, no matter native or second. And we have around 920 million native speakers speaking Mandarin Chinese nowadays. Also, Mandarin is official language in China, Taiwan, Singapore, and some schools in Malaysia. So in the US, most Mandarin Chinese speakers are currently living in West Coast, California. Here at Notre Dame, I found a chart is a composition of Notre Dame students, 62%. The majority of the students consider themselves as white, and only 5% are Asians. But we have to keep in mind here, Asian doesn't mean they speak Mandarin Chinese. They might speak Japanese, Korean, or other languages. So overall, we have around 500 scholars and students came from Mandarin speaking country, like I mentioned, like China, Taiwan, or Singapore this year.
And thank you to the ISA team for getting us those stats for the number of students and scholars from specifically Mandarin speaking countries, and then all of our international students and scholars. And they would fall right here under that non-resident alien 12% typically for the students.
Okay, so now it's time to go over the phonetic overview. So let's see what sounds can our mouths make.
Chinhua is going to kind of be tutoring me, and I might be, copying after her. I encourage all of you, if you are in a space where you are comfortable, keep yourselves muted, but also model after Chinhua so that you get a little bit of practice now while we're all together. And then when we do the actual practice in the breakout rooms, you can do it in a much lower profile context, not in front of, the whole group, but just a small group.
So first of all, about pinyin. Mandarin Chinese, we can divide it as two, like phonetic system and writing system. Writing system is the character that we see on the books, on the menus, is character. But character has no pronunciation itself. So you have to use pinyin to help you to pronounce it. So for example, the kids in China or Taiwan, when we first started to learn Mandarin, we use a phonetic system to help us to pronounce characters. But at the end, we will only use the character and we will remember the sound of the character. So today we will learn pinyin. And we can define pinyin to three different parts. First is the initial, which is the beginning of the syllabus, and also the final, the end of the syllabus. And we have tone, 4 tones in Mandarin Chinese. For example, this one, the initial is m, and the final is a. The tone is the first tone. So when we combine together, m, a, ma, I can let you experience a little bit like 4 tones. Ma, 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 ma. As a second language learner, you might feel like, wow, it sounds so similar. Yeah, everyone struggle with this. So today we will ignore the tone. The reason is because it takes a long time. And also when you see someone's name written in English alphabet, the tone is not included.
Right. So, I mean, even if we just say a Chinese name and our phonetic pronunciation is accurate and we don't put the tone in there, it still might sound a little bit strange to that person, but it'll be better than before if we hadn't practiced phonetically. And I know, Chinhua, that even listening to you do the tones now, the second and fourth ones are still hard for me to distinguish from each other. And that's after however many years. So it's a constant practice.
Yeah, I totally get it. No worries. And these are all the initials and finals, and we will go over the whole idea of it. So first, we will start with finals because this idea is kind of like vowels. You cannot pronounce the character without vowels. So let's start with the first one. Actually, it's very simple and similar to English. If you listen, you will get it. Like the first one, ah. The second one, which is written like o,
O,
a,
e.
Okay, and the U and another U with 2 dots on it seem like German, but it's not. It's U and Ü. And the problem here is because in English, we don't have that 2 dot like alphabet. So when you see the alphabet U, it can be U or Ü. U, Ü.
So from my standpoint as a linguist and as a native speaker of English, that U sound, it's actually like what your mouth is doing is you're making the E sound and then you're just rounding your lips when you do it. So instead of pulling your lips back going E, you're going U.
Yeah, thank you so much for providing the tips for us. And then here come the nasal sounds. When you pronounce the nasal finals, you can feel the vibrate, the ear like vibrate in your nose. The first one is n. Yeah, when you pronounce it, you put your tongue on the back of your front teeth. N. Yeah, so when we combine the previous one and with this nasal final, an.
N.
In.
In.
Yeah, perfect. So this is front nasal sound, and the next one we have the back nasal finals. So this one, like you will put your tongue backward and open your mouth a little bit wider, like It's kind of like tongue, that sound in English. You can feel it in your nose. So ing. Yeah, any tips, Mary? Like, how did you like practice this?
Nasals are interesting linguistically because usually vowels are the only sounds that you can hold a vowel, right? You can right, as long as the air is coming out. You can do that with nasals too, and you're pushing these together in these blocks down here, these nasal vowels. This is what's actually happening in your mouth, right? Usually you have your soft palate, your velum is like going to be closed, and when you make a nasal sound, that opens up, and the air is actually coming out of your nose, which is why you can go right? With your mouth closed, no air is coming out. It's coming out of your nose. So you'll know you're making a nasal sound like ing at the end of sing, which we have in English too, because you can't make that sound when you pinch your nose, right? You can't go, it stops. And that's because your airflow stops. But I think these are sounds that are similar in English. We just don't always recognize them as having that nasality, but we do it. It is something that we're used to doing.
Yeah, I think as adult learner, we are more like tend to use principles and logic to understand it. But when I talk it, they just go with the flow and have fun with it. But either way, like any way can help you pronounce. I think it's a good way.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's time for initials. And these are some of the initials very, very similar to English. So we have like initials with lips, initial with teeth, and also some with throat. Okay, so the first one, let's start from the first row. You start with b,
p,
p,
m,
b.
b.
Yeah, I think this one might be easy for you, right?
Right, because this is a slide where it's like, yes, these are all consonants that exist in Mandarin. They all also exist in English.
Yeah,
right?
and the second row.
Yeah.
The second row is about teeth and tongue. The,
t,
n, l. Okay, and the following one, you can feel the vibration through your throat. G,
k,
k, i, u. Yeah, just the final one might be a little bit different, but other parts, I think it's very similar to English.
I think so. I think the H might be compared to the English H, maybe a little further back. You feel it in your throat a little bit more, right? If you're saying like the difference between like he went, and like huh, it's a little, but these are all more or less English sounds that we know and would see and say like, oh yeah, go. All right.
Yeah, so I
Let's
believe
get into the hard stuff.
Yeah, we already built some confidence, so we can try for the more challenging one. And the first row, like that you see in green, is focused on teeth. But I will provide a small tips, like when you pronounce these three sounds, you don't circle up your lips, because in English, you might hear like later in English, the similar sound, we might circle all our lips, but we try to keep our lips flat.
All right.
All right, so the first one, you'll have to forget X because this is not English. This is pinyin system. We just borrow the alphabet of it. So the first one, she. Yeah, so as Mary say, like this is very similar to she sound in English. But when we say she in English, we round up the mouth, the lips, but we don't do it in Mandarin. She.
Right. So, and it's you move it slightly back here, and I tried to show that in your mouth. If you're thinking about where your tension is being held, or like where your tongue is kind of resting, right? The English she is a bit further, and then you pull back a little bit and keep, yeah. She. How about this one?
All right, this one is G,
G,
G.
G. So my linguistic tip on this one is because we're about to move on to the anti-tissue test. I have a tissue here, which my Zoom background is going to try to take away from me. This is, I think, particularly hard for English speakers. And when Chinhua and I practiced, it was hard for me even then. But you're not actually letting the air pop out of your mouth when you make this J sound like you would in English, like j, like. So if you hold like a paper or a tissue in front of your mouth and you say the Chinese Ji sound, then that tissue shouldn't move.
Yeah.
Right? Because no air is coming out to move it.
Exactly. And for me, like this sounds kind of similar to, oh, geez, juice, that G.
So if the English ch is here, where we push that air out, we round our lips and we go ch, then G is. All right. And this last one.
Yeah, this one. Qi, qi.
Qi, qi. So almost the exact same as G, but you actually let the air come out, right? So you do want to move. You want to move that tissue when you do it. Qi. Am I doing okay, Chinhua?
Yeah, you're doing a good job.
Okay, we got that on record. So.
All right, so we already learned a lot. Let's do some minute practice together. The first one, like xi, yi, xi,
xi,
ji yin, jing,
jin,
he yin, ping,
ping,
Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping.
Yeah, you might have heard of this person a lot on news.
You guys practice along with me. I'm up here kind of on a metaphorical stage. You don't have to unmute yourselves. No one's judging, but feel free to practice along. Even turn your video off if you're afraid of us judging we're not looking. All right, here's our second set of consonants that are sometimes tricky.
Yeah, also on teeth and the throat.
Okay.
First one, si.
S. So this one, it's we have S in English, right? But the English S is here. And if you make that sound, you're just like soap, whatever. Your tongue is kind of up. And you want to push your tongue down, almost like you're trying to push your tongue and hold it against the back of your bottom row of teeth when you make the s sound in Mandarin.
Okay, this one, zi, zi.
So this is similar to before, right? Our middle sound has to pass the tissue test. And this is where I'm going to eventually stop holding it up because sometimes I don't pass my own tissue test. Right? We're basically combining the T sound with that S from before that's at the bottom of our teeth, but we're not pushing the air out like tss, like cats in English or fruits, but we're doing tss, tss.
Okay, this one, zi, and this one, ci, ci. You can feel the air break through your teeth. Ci.
You can. And I mean, yeah, if you don't have a tissue, you can also just can feel it there. But it's essentially the same as the z sound, but you're letting the air out here. So it follows a similar pattern. They're in the same place in your mouth, but what you're doing with the air or your tongue is a little different between these sounds.
Make practice again. So we learned ci and we learn and e. And e can combine together. I, ci, I, cai.
Cai.
In, u, en, wen.
Wen.
Cai, in, wen.
Cai, in, wen.
Perfect.
Yeah, and we have the alternate spelling here too, right? So this is we'll talk about a little bit later, but you might see it spelled either way. Here's our last tricky set.
Yeah, the last one is about your tongue and also the throat.
All right, let's give it a go.
Yeah, so the position, like the place you put your tongue is kind of like the middle in your mouth. It's not rolling all the way back up. Nobody can do it. So it's kind of like in the middle.
Yeah, so like when we say the term we're talking about here is retroflex, right? Which we don't really do in English, but what retroflex means linguistically is basically, this is a nice picture of it, is you're curling your tongue backwards, hence the retroflexing, right? You're flexing it backwards. And that's a really key component in these sounds. So you can see here some of the different sounds where you see that tongue tip curling back. And we have them actually placed as well here.
Yeah, all right, let's start it. Shi,
Shi,
shi. Okay, your teeth are close to each other. Shi.
shi,
And your throat might vibrate. Shi.
shi, shi. Right. So this is the English sh sound. And then you're curling the tongue back just a bit here. And that's what this little tail is on that as well, is the sh, curling back your tongue. Sh.
This one. Zhi, zhi.
Sh, sh. So
How do
similar
you
to
distinguish the difference? Because some of my students told me like this, like humble sounds so similar to them.
it really can. I think all of these sounds can, and the one that we're about to get to sounds very similar for English speakers too. And I think that's partly why we wanted to record it, also for convenience, but so that you can go back and honestly listening practice over and over helps a lot. But like hearing it in yourself is really rewarding. So I'm thinking, this is kind of the difference between sh and ch in English, right? As in shudder and chatter, right? But again, there's that tissue test where in English we just let the air come out, and that's kind of the key component here between the ch sound and our next one.
Yeah, it's all right if you cannot really like make the sound or distinguish the difference. I appreciate you step out the first step with me. The third one, chi, chi.
Chi, chi. So this one actually might be closer to the English ch sound because you are letting the air out. But it's the same place, just a slightly different, pulling that tongue back.
Okay, so when we finish zhi, chi, shi, there's a singer. You might know him as Jay Chou. Now we can do his Chinese name. His Chinese name, O U O zhi O zhou.
周
Ji ye jie
杰
le wen luan
伦
zhou jie luan.
周杰伦
Yeah, who is Jay Chou's Chinese name. And also in Chinese, we have a slang. We say Wang Li Man Tianxia, which means, oh, surname Wang, surname Li is all over the place, which is true. Because when we calculate all the names, like it's commonly used, when I look it up, when I did the research, they say now we have 40,000 surnames in Chinese, but also we have top 100, and top 100 cover all the 85%. So you might see this surname like very often here. And after we go over the phonetic things, that this might be so much easier for you. So now let's do this together from the first one. Wu Ang Wang.
王
Second one, Le Yi Li.
李
Third one, Zhi Ang Zhang.
张
Okay, fourth one might be a little bit tricky because the vowel part. Okay, we learn like it's E and it's O. So when we combine together, yo, and we plus le, liu,
Liu,
Liu.
Liu.
Good job. And the fifth one, Chi En Chen.
That name looks familiar.
Yeah, why? Because that's my last name, and it's also the most commonly used last name in Taiwan.
Oh,
We call
really?
it market name because you can see it everywhere. Chen.
Chen,
Yeah, sixth one, Yi Ang Yang.
Yang,
Okay, also go back to the vowel that we just learned. Wu, the seventh one, Wu Ang Wang.
Wang,
And we plus he, Huang.
Huang,
Huang.
Huang.
Yeah, Huang mean color yellow. Just like in English, we have like surname black and white. In Chinese, we also have yellow, blue, white, and black. They are all surnames. Okay, the eighth one, 知傲 zhao.
Zhao,
Yeah, remember to roll up your tongue. Zhao.
Zhao,
Good job. Number 9, so easy. Wu.
Wu,
Yeah, I don't even need to separate them. It's simply Wu. Okay, last but not least, 知欧周.
Zhou.
Yeah, 周杰伦, J. Zhou, just like we just practiced.
So, I mean, this in English would be the, like top 10 equivalent that we've got Williams, Johnson, Davis, right?
Yeah, so now let's put the surname and the given name together and practice a little bit. I will mark the surname as red and the given name as blue. So let's start from the first one. 知乌珠,
朱
伊翁勇,
永
何英平,
平
永平,
永平
朱永平.
朱永平
Good. Second one. 知昂张,
张
资一子,
子
怡,
怡
子怡,
子怡
张子怡.
张子怡
Okay, third one. 么阿马,
马
于恩云,
云
马云.
马云
Okay, next. 吃恩成,
成
了翁龙,
龙
成龙.
成龙
Yeah, you might feel the vibration in your nose because it's nasal sound, too nasal.
So it's
And-
much more nasal than like in English, like it's not like Chang Long, right? You're not saying g at the end, right? It's just Cheng Long, like it's ending in that right?
Yeah, it makes the whole difference if you use the nasal correctly. Okay, last one. 了一里.
Li,
Yeah, remember we say this Q like pronounced as qi, qi, so qing,
Qin,
li qing.
Li Qin.
Okay, these names are some famous like actor and actresses Chinese name. And the first one is my supervisor, the coordinator of the Chinese program here at Notre Dame. His name is Zhu Yongping. So next time if you see him, you already know how to say his name. And Ma Yun, which is known as Jake Ma. He's a founder of Alibaba Group and Taobao, the shopping online platform. So I remember once my friend told me, "Oh, do you know Jake Ma? He's so famous." I'm like, "Who's Jake Ma?" "Oh, you mean Ma Yun?" Ma Yun. If you pay attention, like on all the practice that we just did together with me, you might be a little bit confused. We say like C pronounced as C, but why my name is Qing Hua instead of Qing Hua? Okay, now here's the reason. Just like we say, like pinyin is a phonetic system, but in Taiwan, we have another phonetic system, which is zhuyin, which serve as exactly the same purpose to help us pronounce Mandarin Chinese, but it's written in this way, like the pink chart show, which is so much more complicating. So that's the reason why like most of the second language learner, they choose to use pinyin because they already have some background knowledge. And as you can see in Taiwan, sometimes foreigners might be very confused by the translation. For example, this place called Banqiao, and it can be spelled as Banciao and also Banqiao. So that's the reason why is because we don't use this English alphabet to help us to pronounce Mandarin. That's why. So people choose different system when it comes to translation in Taiwan.
I love that you found this picture and you can see it side by side, and it's the same thing, the C versus the Q in Zhuyin in Pinyin as we're seeing in your name, right? So it's like, I think too, I think when I first met you, I had to ask you, like, because I was calling you, I was thinking the C is the tss sound, and then I heard you say your name. I was like, oh, this sounds a bit different, right? So I think too, there's just knowing that opens up the whole realm of, if you're not 100% sure, because there are lots of reasons to not be sure, asking is always a safe choice.
Yeah, and for my personal experience, like Americans are very, very understanding for me. They understand I'm a like foreigner and English is my second language. So I'm making mistakes most of the time, but they don't really mind and they will help me to express myself. So exactly the same thing. If you don't know, not sure how to pronounce other people's like Mandarin name, you can do exactly the same thing. Just ask.
I mean, I think too, there's plenty of words in English that are like not spelled how they sound, right? And it's like, I mean, my kids are learning how to read and they don't know how to pronounce something and they ask. It's like, if you're learning how to read this basically new thing, you can always ask.
Yeah, so I'm curious, like which system that my name was spelled, because my parents also don't know. So I look it up on Wikipedia, and there are lots of different kind of like romanization system for Mandarin Chinese. We have Pinyin, and we have Zhuyin, and my name was spelled in Tongyong Pinyin. Yeah, but the reason why I chose to teach Pinyin today is because in China they all use Pinyin. And so most Mandarin speaking population are using Pinyin, which means like their name is also written in Pinyin too. So the phonetic overview like we did today, I think can cover most of the Mandarin names.
Okay, so I think we want to do a little bit of practice. I have a handout that I'm going to send to everybody. And we'll do some breakout rooms of just like 2 or 3. So you're not like performing in front of everybody. I'll monitor the breakout room. So if somebody had to like step away and you're in there alone, just, leave the room and I'll add you to a different one. And this is, I think we're only going to do maybe, if there's 2 or 3 people in a room, 7 to 9 minutes. But we wanted to give you guys some good practice and then see that handout, like it's an attendance, you're taking attendance in a class, and you want to like call these names. Create how many? 2. There. And then that way, if you struggle with one and you have questions, we'll come back and model it all together.
Know how I don't know how did you feel like when you try to pronounce this name, but I want to thank you for stepping out the first step out of your comfort zone to try this pronunciation. Okay, so now let's go over the sound together. Okay, the first one, 歌舞.
歌舞.
Number 2, 凯徐.
凯徐.
Number 3, 乐审.
乐审.
Number 4, 关琴.
关琴.
Yeah, and number 5, like Mary provided me this name, is a really good example because it's like kind of confusing for English speaker. It's actually an English vocabulary, but my group did a really good job. They didn't say shiny. It's 诗宁瑶.
诗宁瑶. Yeah, it's hard because if you're a native English speaker, your brain sees something and they're like, oh, that's English, and that's what your brain produces.
Okay, number 6, 丽影照.
丽影照
Yeah, remember the nestle we just talked about. Number 7, 东宇州.
东宇州
Number 8, 宋云潭.
宋远潭
Good. Number 9, 锦仪章.
锦仪章
Okay, number 10, 君庭吴.
君庭吴
Yeah, this is a very good example because the given name is the U is Yu and the surname pronounced as Wu. So that's why Jun Yu sound and Wu sound. It can be both when you see the alphabet U.
And I had a question too. Number 7, it sounds like that U sound at the end is like the German looking U with the 2 dots
Oh,
over
you
it,
mean
right? The U, is that right? Dong Yu.
I think it still like stand for Yu. Yeah, and Y just to like help to bring out the Yu sound. So it's
Okay.
still Yu. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, number 11, 红衣礼.
红衣礼
Number 12, we just learned like C pronounced as ci and also the nasal sound. So 从 马.
匆马
Number 13, ch 吃程序饮.
程序饮
Number 14, X stand for she here. So 小山羊.
小山羊
Good job. Last but not least, 锦城流.
锦城流
Yeah. Remember we say EO yo liu. So it's not liu. So it's yo.
Yeah, 流 I like 14 too. 小山 you have those two sh sounds that sound similar in English. You have the sh, the retroflex, and then the x where it's pushed to your teeth, right?
Yeah, I think actually Shaoshan, this name is very beautiful to me because Shao mean morning sun and Shan mean mountain. So morning sun like come out from the mountain. It's like a Chinese painting. And actually the last 4 names are my colleagues' name. They are now like all working in East Asian languages and cultures department. So next time if you see them, 匆匆马, 程序隐, 小山羊, 锦城流. Yeah, they're all now at Notre Dame.
Perfect. So we got to actually practice our colleagues' names. Hopefully they approve of our recording. Okay, so we do have just a couple of minutes left. And I wanted to leave us with the feedback form. And again, this is for anybody watching the recording later. It's going to ask if you attended live or if you're watching the recording, because we do want to get some feedback on both of those experiences. A big thank you to everybody who shared their stories. The East Asian Languages and Cultures Department, NDI's ISA department, and everybody who made this possible. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to be here and put yourselves out there. And I'm going to turn the recording off, and Chinhua and I will stick around. Thank you so much, Chinhua, for leading us and being patient with me.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I think the take-home message today is words have meaning and names have power. So let's create a multicultural environment together by respecting other names. Thank you, everyone.